Inshallah.
MashaAllah, he came from a long way, all the way to here to be with us. And also, we have also a special guest. We have Sister Wendy Diaz, all the way from Maryland, and she represents Why Islam. Sister Wendy, can you hear us?
Yes, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Also, we have the live stream is working today, alhamdulillah. We can, in our live channel, Rashid M on YouTube, Rashid space M, or you can also see us on the website of La Primera, www.laprimera1220em.com in their live stream. So we are in two different channels, inshallah, for those who would like to view us for our online viewers. So inshallah, today's topic is talks about how Islam opposes extremism and terrorism. Islam is against terrorism. Islam is against racism. Islam is against extremism. And in matter of fact, terrorism has no religion. Terrorism has no religion. No religion, no divine religion call for terrorism at all. So we shall see about that. So we're going to give first priority to the ladies. So Sister Wendy, what do you think about what's happening in the media today about all this Islamophobia? Each time there is an incident that happen to be an Arabic name or a foreign name, they throw Islam in the basket. And if he happens to be a Christian or Jewish or white person or any other person, they just change the label and they just call it a crime or that. How do you respond to these double standards in the mainstream media, especially here in the West?
I think it's a lack of education. I think, and it actually opens the door for education, as a matter of fact, because a lot of people do come to learn about Islam and know Islam because of their own curiosity and because of the things that they're seeing on the media. It opens up a doorway for them to be curious about what really is Islam and why are these people supposedly committing these acts of terror and what in their religion incites them to do something like this. And we know, of course, that alhamdulillah this is not the case, that our religion does not teach us that. It's actually the total opposite. So when people find that out, then they're either becoming our allies, and they're speaking out for us, speaking out with us, and condemning these things, or some of them are even embracing Islam.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. And also we're gonna ask you to please translate for us. She's gonna well, our guest of honor, and also she's gonna translate into Spanish. Can you please translate for us in Spanish? We don't have our translator today, inshallah.
Yes. El programa de hoy se trata de el Islam, cómo el Islam se opone al extremismo y al terrorismo. Aquí hoy tenemos un invitado especial, que es el hermano Daoud, también conocido como David, que es un ex reportero de la BBC, que va a estar aquí con nosotros para informarnos de su opinión acerca de el tema. Y también estamos hablando de que absolutamente en el Islam no existe el terrorismo y la violencia no es parte de nuestra fe. El hermano Rashid me ha preguntado a mí cuál es mi opinión acerca de por qué en los medios de comunicación muchas veces personas como musulmanes, cuando cometen un crimen o cuando cometen algún acto, se les llama musulmanes que son los terroristas, pero sin embargo cuando una persona blanca o cuando una persona judía o una persona de otra nacionalidad o de otra religión comete un crimen, ¿por qué a esa persona no se le culpa por su religión? Entonces lo que yo digo es que esto es una falta en los medios de comunicación. Sin embargo, está abriendo las puertas de educación, está abriendo las puertas de la curiosidad para que la gente quiera informarse de lo que es el Islam realmente, quiénes son los musulmanes realmente y si la religión realmente incita a la violencia, y se sabe que absolutamente no, de lo contrario no. Y cuando la gente se da cuenta de esto, se forman unas alianzas con los musulmanes y alguna gente hasta quieren aceptar el Islam. Okay. Barakallahu fikum.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah, before giving the mic to Brother Dawood, I would like to recite a Quran, and for Sister Wendy, that reference is 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 32. Chapter 5, verse 32. I'm going to recite it in Arabic, I'm going to say it in English, then we'll translate it first, and then we go ahead and open the mic for discussion, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون. That was Surah Al-Ma'idah, or the table spread, Quran 5, chapter 5, verse 32, which the translation of the meaning of the Quran, which states, the Quran, the Islamic revealed text, states in chapter 5, verse 32, whoever kills a person unjustly, it is as though he has killed all mankind. Whoever kills a person unjustly, it is as though he has killed all mankind. And whoever saves a life, it is as though he has saved all mankind. So we will go ahead with the translation into Spanish, and then we will start with our topic, inshallah, Islam against terrorism, or Islam is the solution. Go ahead, Sister Wendy.
Nuestro hermano nos ha recitado un verso del Corán que la traducción es lo siguiente: en el nombre de Dios, el compasivo, el misericordioso. Quien mata a una persona injustamente es como si matase a toda la humanidad, y quien salva una vida es como si salvase a toda la humanidad. La verdad se ha hecho distinguida de la falsedad, y eso está en el Corán, capítulo número 5, verso número 32. Go ahead.
Inshallah, both of our guests of honor, Sister Wendy and Brother Dawood, their background, prior to Islam, they used to be a Christian, and they reverted to Islam, or they converted. I prefer reverted. So we would like for them to shed light, being from a Christian perspective, that they came from an outside and inside. I mean, before and after, how they used to view Islam before they discovered the beauty of Islam, how now that they are Muslim, how they see it from inside. If we start with Brother Dawood, inshallah. Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, my brother and my sister. Salam alaikum to you. Thank you for both having me on here. I was involved or been acquainted with Islam for many, many years as a former BBC journalist and radio host. Majority of my work took me to the Middle East and a greater part of Africa. And I found the Islamic people, the Muslims I should say, to be extremely honorable and loyal people. I found them to be honest, majority of them. I'm not saying that we're the most perfect of people, we're not. We all have flaws, but in the main, I found the people itself, like I said, to be very loyal, honest and upright. The ones that I came into contact with in my travels working for the BBC. I don't know if you want to get on to the topic of the terrorist situation.
By all means, please.
For many years since the dawn of time, it has been an orchestrated plan to eradicate Islam from the Western world, per se.
By whom? You mean?
I want to say, I'm going to start with capitalism.
Go ahead.
Now, capitalism in itself is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have money, wanting to have wealth. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits this.
Yes.
But there is a point that you do not go beyond. And if Islam, or when Islam takes a real foothold throughout the world, when this message is preached throughout the world to every human being, the capitalist type people, the greed will not want this, because Islam speaks against everything that greed wants. I want more. I want this. I want that. This is what the message of greed preaches. Islam preaches the exact opposite of this. And so,
I see your point. You're talking about modern slavery, which is interest,
money, riba,
riba interest that the banks set up to a system that's a win-win for them,
exactly.
and a lose-lose for everyone else. It's a slavery for others. That's so much so it impacts everyone. Actually, it impacts everyone. You see people working 3 jobs just to barely make it, and they don't even make it. And you see the elite corrupting the whole system, and corrupting everyone. And on top of that, they get bailed out by the government, unfortunately, and the little one is the one suffering from all that. So that's not our topic, but this is somewhat interconnected, because, like you said, this is one of the motives. There could be other motives as well. So this is one of the motives that the elite, that they want everything, all the wealth for themselves, and they don't want, because Islam has zero interest economy, and that's in itself is scary, because it's for everyone. It's for everyone. Shall we go to translation, or you want to continue 2 points before
the sister can translate?
If you would like Sister Wendy to go to the translation for our Spanish-speaking audience, and we shall continue. For those who wish to join us, we can be reached live at 407-343-6001. This is open conversation for all faiths or no faiths. We welcome, as long as it's done in a respectful manner. Go ahead, Sister Wendy Díaz.
La pregunta que le hicieron a nuestro invitado especial, el hermano Daoud, está acerca de cómo él encontró el Islam, porque él, igual como yo, éramos cristianos antes y abrazamos el Islam como nuestro estilo de vida, como nuestra religión después. Entonces él empezó a explicar que como su trabajo de periodista le llevó a diferentes partes del mundo, él conoció a musulmanes y entrevistó a musulmanes y estuvo alrededor de gente musulmana por mucho tiempo, y conoció que la mayoría de los musulmanes son gente que son muy buena, gente que son generosa, gente honesta, sincera, que querían vivir su vida igual en paz, igual como los demás. Entonces lo que pasa es que en el mundo, en los medios de comunicación y en el mundo hay un temor de lo que es la religión islámica, y la posibilidad de que la religión islámica llegue a todas las partes del mundo, y que todos los seres humanos quieran el sistema religioso y el sistema económico del Islam, que muchas veces ayuda al pobre, y como se sabe, en el Islam no se permite el interés, porque eso es una opresión a la gente, y eso ayuda solamente que las personas ricas sigan ricas mientras las personas pobres sigan en su pobreza. Entonces el Islam trata de eliminar esto de la sociedad, y por eso para las personas que son capitalistas, y que no hay nada malo con el capitalismo en sí, que querer tener riquezas, que querer tener dinero y aumentar el dinero que uno tiene y los bienes, eso no tiene nada de malo. Y de hecho en el Islam es permisible, y Dios nos ha dado el permiso de poder buscar nuestro sustento aquí en la tierra. Sin embargo, hay personas que son avariciosos, que solo buscan aumentar y aumentar su riqueza, sin importar lo que pasa con la gente pobre, la gente necesitada, y sin ayudar a esas personas. Y el Islam trata de buscar una manera moderada de vivir, donde el capital se distribuye entre los ricos y también los pobres.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Also, I'd like to recite another surah, chapter 2, chapter 2, verse 143, which said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا. Allah mandates moderation in faith and in all aspects of life when He states in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 143, we made you to be a community of the middle way, so that with the example of your lives you might bear witness to the truth before all mankind. Also, in another verse, Allah also explained our duty as a human being when He says, let there arise from among you people who invite to righteousness and enjoin good and forbid evil. That chapter is Quran 3 verse 104. So the first one is chapter 2 verse 143, and the second surah or ayah that we recited is 3 verse 104. So if we would like to go ahead with the translation, and we'll go back to Brother Dawood so he can continue with his comment, inshallah.
Dios ordena la moderación en la fe y en todos los aspectos de la vida cuando Él dice en el Corán, en el capítulo 2, verso número 143, hicimos de vosotros una comunidad moderada y justa, así de que fueran testigos ante la humanidad. Y también en otro verso Dios explica nuestros deberes como seres humanos cuando Él dice que haya entre ustedes quienes convoquen al bien, ordenando lo bueno y prohibiendo el mal. Esos son quienes tendrán el éxito. Esto está en el Corán, capítulo 3, 104. Otra vez, estos dos versos son el Corán, primero capítulo 2, 143, y el segundo capítulo 3, 104.
So, Brother Dawood, let me ask you again, paraphrase my question. How did you used to see, from when you used to be a Christian, how do you used to see Islam, your interaction with Islam, and then when you become Muslim from an inside, how do you see it now, or how do you explain it to the people?
I didn't see Islam any different back then from what I see now, because the same behavior, the same characteristics of the Muslims that I came into contact with during my travels, majority of them behave the same way now. And I found the Islamic faith to be so fascinating, and I used to imagine this might sound strange, being like the Muslim one day, not knowing. And it was more back then, it was more of a fascination rather than Allah calling me. I feel much different towards Islam now.
What do you mean fascination by what? What did you attract you?
I found it very mysterious, very mystifying. It was very intriguing. It was like watching a movie, and you want to be a movie star and be like be in the movie one day. It might sound weird, but that's how it was for me. Having seen
a good movie, of course, right?
Good movie, yeah, a good movie. And I remember when I traveled to Jeddah one time, and I saw a camel for the first time. And I actually got the brother actually gave me a chance to ride the camel and stuff. I mean, the camel smelled horrible. But I thought, I remember watching the old Omar Sharif movies and stuff, Lawrence of Arabia, and I didn't imagine myself ever being in the Middle East sitting on a camel, wearing the I forgot the headdress that they wear, the turban and stuff like that. Even as a journalist, I used to, walk around with one, not knowing one day this is what my faith is going to be like. not knowing it. That's how it was in Shamali, alhamdulillah.
Not to say that for the men that the turban is part of age, it's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing,
You know,
yes.
for the women, yes, hijab,
Yes.
it's mandated. But for the men, just to be modest and
Yes.
things like that. But, some aspect of it, and so you were fascinated by Islam,
Yes.
and then what did you discover? What attracted you the most to Islam? What was it?
One
Islam
day,
that attracted you?
I was a practicing Christian, as you know, and I used to be a chorister. Sister Wendy would know what I'm talking about now. Going to Sister Wendy, were you Catholic or Church of England?
I was Catholic.
Right, so we're both similar.
Yeah.
And I used to be a chorister. We had to attend, I don't know if you remember, confessions every evening and stuff. We did all of that. And I was a chorister. I sang in the church choir for many years. And I used to go to midnight mass with my mother religiously every year, no matter what I was doing. If I was overseas, I would make sure I got a flight back to go to midnight mass, which was Christmas Eve. And they would serve what is known as Holy Communion, the sacrament. And when I walked up to the front, the altar, and there was this huge cross above my head, and I never thought, all the years as a Christian, and I looked up because my sight was better then than it is now, and I looked up and I saw this cross, and there was the half-naked, image of what they say, or who they say is Jesus of Nazareth. And I got up and walked away, and I said, I can't do this anymore. So my mum held me by my hand and said, David, you need to kneel down, it's Holy Communion. And I said, no, Mum, I can't do this anymore. How could anyone, one of the commandments says that thou shalt not take unto thee any graven image. In other words, to translate, it says, thou shalt not worship any graven image. And when I saw this in the church, I thought, there's something wrong here. Something wrong. Now, this is not to offend many of our listeners, but if the cross was used as a symbol of evil, to murder people, how could we then bow to it? How could we, make signs of the crosses on ourselves and stuff to this image? Now, I'm not saying this to cause an offense to anyone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by faith, which we believe that He being the most supreme, all right, there's none beside Him, none above Him, and none beneath Him. He has no partners. The same God that said to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Abraham as he's known in the Old Testament, when he was told to sacrifice his son, what did Allah do? Allah, from a voice from heaven, told him, no, because of your love and your obedience to me, I will not allow you to kill your son. And He provided a sacrifice, an animal, a ram. Why would the same God do this to Abraham and then turn around and say, if we believe in the concept that Jesus is His son, if that is to be the case, why then do we believe in the concept of the crucifixion? I know it's slightly off the topic, but it starts,
it's fine.
But this is my understanding of the scriptures. So because of that, I went back to the Old Testament and read it from Genesis to the last book, and it was through the Old Testament that helped me to understand Islam as I know it now.
Actually, many people that read the Bible and read it with open mind and with logic and all the stuff came to the same conclusion. There is many books that say the Bible lead me to the Quran. So if you read, for instance, Deuteronomy 24:16, it says, the father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sins. Also Jeremiah 31 verse 30. But every one shall die for his own iniquity.
Exactly.
Ezekiel 18:20. The soul that sinneth, it shall die.
It shall die.
The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Also, this is also actually it correlates with what we're talking right now, because this mentality of one person committed sins and bringing with the wide brush all humanity for that matter, it's a sick mentality, because if one person commit an act of terrorism, that person and that person only should be punished,
yes,
and should be punished to the extreme way of the law, and should be put to justice, and should be fair and due process, and due process by all means. Not his family, not his tribe, not his country,
not the religion,
not his resource, not the, this is a front that unfortunately imperialistic, they use this just to demonize the whole nation, so they can steal their land, they can steal their resource, they demonize, they dehumanize for totally different things like that. And when you see, for instance, just as we speak, there is instance that's happening all over. Whenever you see a white American did it, they don't even call him terrorist. Why is it? We need people to define for us what the word terrorism is, and anyone, regardless of their color, regardless of their faith, regardless of their affiliation, regardless of what their passport look like or what color is their passport, if they commit an act of terrorism, they are by definition terrorists.
In fact,
simple is that.
I want to remind our listeners that the founding fathers of the United States here of America, when they came over, they were when they fled religious persecution in England, by the then king, the authorities in England referred to the founding fathers here in America as terrorists for what they were doing. And that's in the history books.
It's like Nelson Mandela, which is a symbol of freedom, symbol of that. He was once upon a time called a terrorist.
Yes, he was.
So it's convenient. This term we cannot really. We have to look into it. We have to be objective when we call people, and we have to get out of this sick mentality. If one person commit a crime, that person and that person only should be brought to justice. Not all his faith, not all his family, not the whole nation, not blaming everyone. So with that, we will pause here. Inshallah, we will give the Sister Wendy. She has
I'll try my best.
the greatest job. Allah reward you. And also, when you translate, we would like to hear your side as well. So we just don't want to, just as a translator, but also as a contributor. You are also part of this show, so your input is also valuable. Go ahead, sister. Translate, and then your input as well.
I was actually going to add back in, I think it was the late 60s, early 70s, Puerto Rican people, I'm from Puerto Rico, were also considered terrorists because they were demanding some of their rights.
Look at that.
I heard that, and I never understood it. Somebody was telling me, I thought he was joking, so I never got the chance. Seriously, wow.
But getting back to the translation, I'll try to,
inshallah.
Para resumir todo lo que han hablado nuestros dos hermanos, el hermano Daud estaba explicando cómo fue que él escogió el Islam como su religión, y él estaba explicando que él él cuando veía a la gente árabe, cuando veía a los musulmanes, siempre sentía como una admiración por ellos, una fascinación, y quería aprender más de la religión islámica, y para él era casi como si fuera una película, y él quería ser uno de los actores, uno de los protagonistas. Y bueno, poco a poco fue aprendiendo, y un día cuando fue a la iglesia, él asistía a la iglesia regularmente y también participaba en el coro y todo de su iglesia, y un día cuando fue a tomar comunión, estuvo con su mamá, y a punto de, cuando iba a tomar la comunión, miró para arriba y vio la imagen de Jesús en la cruz, lo que dicen que es Jesús de Nazaret en la cruz, y él no se sintió cómodo, y le dijo a su madre, ya yo no puedo hacer esto más. Y es porque en la misma Biblia dice que el primer mandamiento es que no se debe tomar una imagen en lugar de Dios. y él sintió que esto es una contradicción que está en la Biblia. Y él fue otra vez y leyó todo el Viejo Testamento y sintió que esto es más cerca de la verdad. Y el Islam tiene mucha similaridad con los mandamientos y todo lo que dice el Viejo Testamento, entonces por eso él sintió que el Islam era más cerca de lo que es la verdad que el cristianismo. Y por eso él decidió hacerse musulmán. También pasando al tema otra vez de el terrorismo y pintando a toda la gente con la misma brocha, hasta en la misma Biblia él mencionó que Dios dice que en lugar de Abraham sacrificar a su hijo Ismael, en el Islam decimos que es Ismael, algunas personas piensan que era Isaac, pero al momento que Abraham iba a sacrificar a su hijo, Dios le para y le dice: ya he probado tu fe, no sacrifiques a tu hijo, y en su lugar yo te voy a enviar un animal, un cordero, y a ese cordero él sacrificó en vez de a su hijo. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos pensar que el mismo Dios que no dejó que Abraham sacrificara a su hijo y él pasó su prueba, cómo él mismo va a sacrificar a su propio hijo para borrar los pecados de toda la humanidad? No tiene sentido si lo vemos en ese contexto. Entonces también, en ese sentido, cuando una persona comete un crimen, ¿cómo se le puede culpar a toda la humanidad por el crimen de una persona? De separarnos de eso y decir que basta ya, no podemos culpar a todos los musulmanes por el crimen de una persona, ni tampoco a cualquier otro grupo de personas por el crimen de una persona.
That's so cute to hear the kid in the background. Give them the mic. We want to hear that.
You know, I was going to say, we actually have another special guest.
Yes, please.
My daughter, who is 18 months.
Oh, mashallah.
MashaAllah. Please put her.
I
Please put her.
apologize.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at
I
all.
mean, it's add more. No, I love to hear the kids.
kids.
Please. Just give her the mic. I want to hear something.
If it's any consolation, Sister Wendy, I have my last son, Omar. He's 5 months old. Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
we love the kids.
No.
The
Kids
future
are
of
the
Ummah,
future.
inshallah.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
they're the future.
Definitely,
So,
inshallah.
speaking of kids and the youth, how could we protect the kids, our kids, when they watch when they watch all the Islamophobia, when they watch all this media, when they watch all this propaganda? How could we protect them from falling into despair, from not being proud of who they are? How could we, refocus the kids into re-energize them, re-educate them? How could we do that?
I'll let Sister Wendy.
Yeah, Sister Wendy.
You know, I have 4 children. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
My eldest is 10, and I have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and an 18-month-old. With the older children, they are able to understand a lot more. So every now and then we feel we have to give them some tidbits. Like, for example, we live not too far from their school, but I prefer for them not to walk to school because of the environment that we're living in now. Especially my older son, they both go to Islamic school, alhamdulillah. So my older child, part of his uniform is to wear a thobe, which is a long dress for the males.
Yeah.
And so I just don't feel comfortable with him walking outside by himself. So I've had to let them know, listen, the environment that we're living in now, sometimes people, they look at us in a certain way, so it's best to always be with someone or for you not to walk out by yourself where someone may harass you or something like this. And it's a sad thing that we have to tell them this, but I feel like we do have to take a realistic approach and just make them aware. I don't feel it is fair that we have to have this, but unfortunately we don't live in an ideal world.
Right.
So we just have to take our precautions and explain to them the best way that we can, in a way that they can understand.
Right.
So they know. And I can translate that.
Yes.
Yeah, inshallah, because Sister Wendy, she's right, because each time in the presidential campaign, or each time in the election, they demonize Islam so much so that it is a paused for their political gain. You see, for example, a presidential hopeful making slurs, remark, falsehood about Islam and Muslims, demonizing the whole religion, trying to ban Muslims, trying to do all this. And when you see this rhetoric, this paused rhetoric, this sickening conversation, this racist, unrealistic and unfounded remarks about Islam and Muslims, it empower the ignorant, unfortunately, to do hate crime against Islam. And the statistic care, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations, are monitoring all this, and there is a lot of organizations, Human Rights Watch and ACLU, that document all this incident, and it is spiking at the highest spike. We heard, the media are now focusing on this. There was a woman that was burned a Muslim woman that was burned in New York.
Yes.
You don't hear about that. There was Muslim mosque all over here, even in Florida, that were burned, and you don't hear about that. There is a lot of hate crime against Islam and Muslims. That is because of, unfortunately, the media is the number one responsible for doing all this propaganda, and they should be held accountable for any incident that happened, because the more they talk negative and founded about Islam in a prejudiced way,
the more angrier people become, and they have to vent their frustrations out.
And Dr. Dawood can tell us, because Brother Dawood can tell us, because he used to be a journalist from the BBC, journalist. So what you take? You were saying earlier, we interrupt you. How was this plan that they're trying to eradicate? Can you continue with that before we go to the
I will let Sister Wendy, because she raised a very, very good point with her kids going to school, and I would love our Spanish listeners to hear what she said just now. So my sister, over to you.
Go ahead, sister.
Estábamos hablando acerca del el hermano Rashid me preguntó qué pienso yo acerca del ambiente ahora que ha creado la islamofobia y cómo nosotros como padres lidiamos con esta situación en torno a nuestros hijos y cómo les orientamos acerca de lo que está pasando en el mundo. Y mi respuesta es que sí, desafortunadamente estamos viviendo en una época que mucha gente no entiende el Islam, no entiende a los musulmanes, y también se han cometido actos de violencia contra la comunidad musulmana. Yo como madre, yo tengo 4 hijos, mis dos hijos mayores, ellos van a la escuela, ellos a veces han querido caminar a la escuela porque la escuela no queda tan lejos, pero ahora a este punto estamos diciéndoles que no queremos que caminen solos, que no queremos que nunca estén en una situación donde están solos y que posiblemente una persona les pueda molestar, atacar. Y lo que hacemos es que tratamos de educarlos de una manera que ellos entiendan, explicándoles la situación que está pasando ahora en el mundo y por qué las personas tienen esta opinión acerca del Islam, y tratar de hacer esto otra vez en una manera que ellos puedan entender, para que como ellos todavía son tan jovencitos, los míos solamente tienen 7 y 10 años, así que yo tengo que explicarles en su idioma, vamos a decir, el idioma infantil, y decirles, mira, esta es la razón que no queremos que tú vayas solo y esto y aquello, para que ellos entiendan. Y es algo que es muy desafortunado, pero se necesita ahora educar a nuestros hijos acerca del ambiente en el que estamos viviendo ahora.
Go ahead, Brother Dawood.
Thank you, Sister Wendy, and Brother Abdul. I want to expand a little bit more on what we could do, or the tools that we now have at our disposal now. Sister Wendy talks about her kids going to Islamic school now. Unfortunately, I would love to put my children, especially my daughter, into a Muslim school. Unfortunately, where we live, the nearest school to us is like 30-40 miles away, so that's not possible. The one tool that has been used from the dawn of time to really, and you hit this on the head, it's the media. First it started with radio. When in fact, what I was going to say, I'm going to save it for another time, but one of the worst tools that was used and is still being used today is what we know as the television. The television from the Western.
Wow. Can you say it one more time?
Television.
Wow.
Television, not television. Television.
So televising lies and
televising lies and perceptions and stuff like that. This is the one tool that the West has used over the years to literally indoctrinate, to brainwash, and to call. If you notice now, majority of what people hear, what they act out, comes from where? Comes from the television.
Wow.
And if the Muslim community would really put their heads together and now I'm not saying that mosques don't work. I am not saying that musallas doesn't work. What we need now, and don't say to me that we don't have the resources. There's one country on earth right now that could put their hands deep into their pockets and provide schools for literally in every city in every country on the planet for the Muslim. One country could do this by themselves, but that's a subject for another day. Now, it isn't to say that we don't, as Muslims, we don't have the resources to build more schools for our children. And by the way, we have Christians and Jews that attend Muslim schools and they do extremely well. Extremely well.
Speaking of that, the tell lies medium is also preventing these people from doing any good things, because when they demonize Islam and Muslim, they demonize charities, they demonize dance. Or if someone wanted to, like from a foreign country, they want to do something good, they will stigmatize them, they will do something, they will sabotage them. So they don't want to have a decent things like, and that would be the solution. When you have, there was an old saying, I don't remember who's the author. He say, each time you open a school, you close a prison. Unfortunately, in America especially, they don't want to do that.
The other way around.
The other way, because they make big money. This country has more prisoners than China and all the countries combined. And there's a lucrative business, unfortunately. So they don't want to do that. In matter of fact, they will cut funds from schools to open a prison, and they will do that happily, unfortunately. And when you see the conflict between police and the cities and stuff like that, there is a lot of, we have to build trust, all of us. We have to be a solution. We can just point the finger. All of us, this is our society. We all care for the society. Islam teaches us to act in a caring manner to all of God's creation. The Prophet Muhammad, who is the mercy of all mankind, says, all creation is the family of Allah, and the most beloved by God is the one who is kind and caring towards his family. Because we care, we share this information. Sharing is caring. We care. We want to see the police get along with all the people and treat everyone regardless of their color nicely. And we want also the citizen to respect the police and the authorities, and to hold them accountable as well, but to cooperate and to work together. We go to the translation, and we shall continue with our conversation. Inshallah. This is Islam for Mankind, coming live from La Primera, and we are the honor to have with us Sister Wendy Diaz from Islam, Why Islam. And also we have with us Dawood, an ex-BBC journalist, and he has a radio, As-Salam Radio. Continue, Sister Wendy, Jazakumullahu khairan.
Estábamos hablando nuevamente acerca de el Islam no promueve y se opone rotundamente al terrorismo y al extremismo. Y estábamos hablando de lo que en el Islam, como el profeta Mohammed, que la paz sea con él, nos enseñó que las mejores personas son aquellas que benefician al resto de la humanidad. Y nosotros como musulmanes debemos de siempre promover el bien y hacer el bien, y eso es lo que estamos intentando hacer. El hermano Daud estaba hablando acerca de que a él le gustaría poner a sus hijos también en una escuela islámica donde puedan aprender lo que es el Islam y también los estudios regulares. Sin embargo, donde él vive está lejos de una mezquita o de una escuela islámica. Pero lo que hace falta es la educación en este país para poder combatir el extremismo, el terrorismo y combatir también todos los estereotipos que existen acerca del Islam. Y para poder hacer esto, desafortunadamente, es casi imposible, a menos que otros países o otras comunidades se involucren y ellos traten de fundar estas escuelas. Porque si, aunque sea un país donde la mayoría de musulmanes estén ahí y que tengan fuerza económica, ellos pueden fundar muchas escuelas que pueden estar para todos los niños musulmanes, para que ellos aprendan de su religión de una manera correcta, de una manera auténtica, pero sin embargo no existen esos recursos, o sí existen, pero no se están distribuyendo de la manera que pueda beneficiar a todas las personas. Es más favorable aquí para el gobierno de este país construir prisiones, cárceles, porque es una manera que ellos ganan más dinero. La educación es tan importante, sin embargo no se le da la importancia que se le debe para combatir todo tipo de mal en la sociedad.
Dear Muslims, dear listeners, dear radio and our online viewers, Islam calls upon us to have a good relation, a sound understanding, and peaceful coexistence with all mankind. That's why we call this show Islam for all mankind, and all creation of Allah. Islam call us to have a sound and good relation with all human beings, irrespective of their faith, race, or nationality. Allah made the need to be acquainted with other nationalities and races a necessity. If we look at Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13, chapter 49, it says, O mankind, this is Allah addressing all mankind, not just the Muslims, all mankind, all the creation of Allah. Allah, by the way, is the Arabic word for one God. O mankind, this is Allah speaking, we have created you from a male and female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may to know one another. Verily, the most honorable of you with Allah is that believer who is pious. Verily, Allah is all-knowing, all-acquainted with all things. May Allah bless your kids. They're so cute to hear them. You know, they want to participate. So, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Sister Wendy. Jazakumullahu khair.
El hermano está diciendo, queridos musulmanes, queridas personas que están escuchando, el Islam nos ordena el buen entendimiento, la coexistencia pacífica y las buenas relaciones con todos los seres humanos, independientemente de su religión, de su raza o de su nacionalidad. Verdaderamente Allah, glorificado y alabado sea, hizo la necesidad de conocernos mutuamente un mandamiento. Él dijo en el Corán, oh seres humanos, y esto es dirigido a todos los seres humanos en el mundo. Los hemos creado a partir de un hombre y una mujer, y se refiere a Adán y a Eva. Y de su descendencia les congregamos en pueblos y tribus para que se conozcan los unos a los otros. En verdad que el más honrado entre vosotros ante Allah es el más piadoso. Ciertamente Dios o Allah es omnisciente y está bien informado de todo lo que hacen. Y esto está en el Corán, capítulo 49, verso 13. Tratar a la gente no musulmana con amabilidad y respeto es parte de los principios islámicos básicos. Somos responsables de brindar buenos consejos a los no musulmanes y a todas las personas, porque Dios lo dice en el Corán, que convoca al sendero de tu Señor con sabiduría y bellas palabras y argumentales de la mejor manera. Tu Señor sabe muy bien quién se extravía de su camino y quién sigue la guía.
vertidas en el siguiente programa.
¡Poder Latino! ¡Ouch! ¡La primera!
Si quieres comprar